Okay, so this is my second video in which I'm testing using OBS and my new mic to do some screencasts and discussions on Skyrim modding. So in this one, instead of just going through my load order like I did in my last test video, I'm going to be more just discussing about what actually is happening in Skyrim modding and sort of why people enjoy modding Skyrim, and yeah, hopefully getting some basic understanding for whoever's watching about what you're doing when you're going through modding and how to make your game look as good as you see on YouTube and that sort of thing. So just to start off right at the bat, I'm using Skyrim Special Edition. This is, when you start and you want to, do a clean install, before you start modding or anything like that, grab it off Steam, or I'm trying to think if there's any other way you could get it. No, just grab it off Steam. Download somewhere. I recommend, let's see if I can go to my Skyrim folder. That is my dedicated one. I know it's here. I have 2 drives. One is an SSD. Put all my games on this SSD. It's almost full, you can see. And it'll go in your, and this is really good, you need to know how to get here because you're going to be messing a lot with these files. It goes in your program files, x86 if you're on a 64-bit system, Steam apps, common, and then Skyrim Special Edition mod. No, not mods, excuse me, just Skyrim Special Edition. You can see I also on this drive and in my Steam install I have Skyrim and Civ 6 and all that sort of stuff. But this is the file we're interested in. So this is the path, and this is where Steam will automatically install your base install for Skyrim Special Edition. I don't know if you can change this necessarily. I'm sure you can within Steam, but this is the default. And so if you're looking for the actual files for Skyrim, this is where they will be put on your system. So this is what ultimately, everything in this file is going to be changed when you're doing any sort of modding in Skyrim. The way those things get changed is super dependent. I have a pretty modded game and some extra files in here. So for instance, these EMB files, let's see, got a bunch of readmes I should probably clean up. Anything else in here? Yeah, this audio file. These are all things that I've added through modding. Yours should be similar, but just less files. So when we talk about modding Skyrim, what's really happening in most of these mods that you're downloading is they're going to be essentially just replacing files in this data folder. Maybe textures, right? This is a really popular one. And these are all the textures that are used in the game. When you're downloading a mod and you install it, effectively what it's doing is it's like dragging and dropping from another window into these files and saying, okay, replace all. So for instance, let's see, architecture, farmhouse. All right, these are all the assets for farmhouses that the game uses. And they will be replaced based on the mods you're installing. So that's just a high level about what's actually happening. You can always come in here, and depending on if you're using a virtualization system for the file folder, you can see what's actually been changed. You can literally open up, I think you can really open these. Maybe I need an editor. Yeah, you can't open DDS files. There are ways to do that, but you can at least see a thumbnail of what's changed and get a good idea about the state of the game. So this is where things are going to be actually changing. How you go about doing that is usually using, and actually you should be using, a mod manager or a mod organizer, depending on the nomenclature. The old one that used to be used for old RIM or old Skyrim was mod organizer. This one, this no longer works for Skyrim Special Edition. It hasn't been updated. And what's happened actually is Tannen, who's the author of that program, has moved on to working on the Nexus Mod Manager, which is, I would say, the preeminent file manager system. So I'll open it up right now. And I'll also show you where to get this. And what the Nexus is, it's really important to modding Skyrim, as well as their mod manager now. So this is the mod manager, and basically it's an organizational tool just for keeping track of things that are installing to that folder I just showed you. If you want to know where to grab this, go to Nexus Mods /Skyrim Special Edition, and you'll see up at the very top it says install NMM, and that's just the really quick install. But it's good that we're here because the Nexus is where you want to be grabbing all of your mods to actually install them. So if we go to the Nexus, this is called Nexus Mods, go to Browse Files. Almost everyone who's worth their salt will be uploading their mods to nexusmods.com. And there are other places, especially in Skyrim Special Edition, where you can grab mods, such as Bethesda.net, but excuse me, little cough. This is really where you should be focusing your efforts in terms of looking for mods. Just way easier, and is actually open source and community driven. So already we see these top files. For instance, a really important one is USEP, the Skyrim Special Edition patch. If you click on a mod, right, you're brought to a mod page, and you should and can read the details about the mod, what it changes, a lot of things like compatibility, errors, change logs, that sort of thing will be on this page. And then actually download it once you've installed. Install NMM up here. You go to files, and these are all the files available for download here. And you'll see two links. One is download with manager. What this will do is download it directly through the Nexus Mod Manager, this program. So you'll see there's a download manager tab here. If you click that link and it's set up correctly, you'll see that download not go through your Chrome or your browser, but actually through Nexus Mod Manager to be available immediately. I personally don't do that. I always download manually, which is clicking this link. And so we can go through an example. I say click and continue with my download. I'm not going to donate this time. I should, but I haven't. Nexus is really slow today, so this might take a while, but it'll do a standard, just like Chrome install. You'll see it pop up down here, right? And it'll go to my downloads folder, and that is just a zip file that gets downloaded there. And then if I want to add it into my Nexus Mod Manager, there's this nice little plus button, and it opens right to my downloads, and you can see all the mods that I've been downloading. These are just RAR archives, just zipped archives, that are downloaded in my download section. And you just click one, and I've installed all these, so I'm not going to jump into that right now. I click open, and it will make it available to install. Once you do that, and it's available here, you double click it, and it'll get a green check mark. And what that means, so for instance, Stunning Statues of Skyrim, so a mod I really like, what that means is that what Nexus Mod Manager is doing is going into your file folder. Oh, it appears I have downloaded something. Yeah, I don't want to download USEP again. Pretty sure I've downloaded it like 7 times. So what it's actually doing is taking all the files that it's unpacked from that zip file, and it is in a virtual folder. Not that one. Used to be on my shortcuts. Apparently I haven't clicked that in a while. So we're going to go back through that path. Just memorize this real fast. Where? Oh, because I'm on my C drive. You have to excuse me. This is part of the trials and tribulations of modding Skyrim, is you just spend some amount of time going through your file system. I'm sure there's people better at this than me. Anyway, what that actually does when you install Sending Statues of Skyrim is in a virtual folder, which is basically a copy of this folder. It does Windows whole replace files in this destination, as if you were just copying and pasting them in here, right? The reason you don't want to do that otherwise is, not through Nexus Mod Manager, is that what happens when you want to remove Stunning Statues of Skyrim? Well, it's not very apparent where all those statues, right, were actually located here. You might be able to look through data and be like, oh, I know there's some textures, and then you delete them. But shit, you already replaced the files in that destination. You don't have any statues in Skyrim anymore. It's a problem. The reason we use something like Nexus Mod Manager, and especially a virtualization system, is that Nexus Mod Manager retains the copy of the original files for statues. And when you decide to uninstall this mod, if I were to go uninstall and delete, right? Just say, okay, I want nothing to do with Stunning Statues anymore. It'll go back and revert the statues back to whatever they last were before this mod replaced them. So if you're doing a lot of modding, and if you're adding a lot of mods and you start overwriting things, it's very, very quick. I would say actually too quick, even by just doing one mod, to end up in a state where your Skyrim install is dirty and you get crashes because you don't have any statues anymore and the game freaks out and you have to reinstall. By doing it here, anytime you uninstall something like this, something is replacing a file that already existed when you initially installed it. So that's sort of basically what's happening when you're installing mods through Nexus Mod Manager. I think there's technical details I'm missing, but that's a good start. The other thing that is nice about this is you can overwrite. So what that means is, let's find something. I have a lot of mountains, right? I have a file called Superior Rocks Default, and then I have another one down here, Gecko's 4K Mountain Textures. These both touch the same files in Skyrim. They touch the mountain textures. I have 2 installed. How is that possible? Because there can only be, right, 1 mountain texture that the game looks for. It's like, all right, I need big mountain texture, big gray mountain texture, whatever it is, and it looks for 1 file. How is it that I have 2 installed? What's actually happening here is that I initially installed Superior Rocks Default. When I installed this, it replaced the vanilla, just default mountains in my game with the ones from this mod. Then, later on, I came back and I said, okay, those aren't great. I want to try out these ones. And when I installed Gecko's 4K Mountain Textures, when I install, it asks me if I want to overwrite the mountain textures from Superior Rocks Default. And if you say yes, then it'll replace those files selectively with the ones from the second mod, Gecko's mod. This is effectively the same thing as when you copy files and it says, okay, well, half of the files already existed here. Should I just, replace the ones that existed? And you say yes. So what you could end up with, unless they're exact one-to-one matches of textures, is by overwriting, and this was not my intention, I'm just lazy and need to remove these because I'm pretty sure they're being completely overwritten now, is the textures that existed, the texture files that existed in Gecko's, would replace all of those that exist in Superior Rocks. But if some of those didn't cover the ones in Superior Rocks Default, those ones would retain and stay. That's why sometimes I like to do overwrites, especially texture overhauls. Do a lot of layering of texture overhauls that way because there are so many textures and landscapes, and very few of the actual texture overhaul mods cover all of them, that is sometimes a good idea to do that overwrite. This is something I used to do in Mod Organizer. In Mod Organizer, what you could do is reorder this list, and it would dynamically sort of do a effectively saying, oh, as if I installed them in that order. So I could drag, I don't know, something like Ruins Clutter Improved up to the very top, and it would act as if that was the first thing installed, and everything coming after in this list would effectively be chronological, as if I installed over them. Can't do that in Nexus Mod Manager, but the way you get around that is just sort of thinking a little bit more about overwrites, because the chronological order that you actually do install these things in is important. I think that's a good start, sort of how the system of modding Skyrim works in relation with Nexus Mod Manager. Things to remember are grab this program, look for files on nexusmods.com/Skyrim Special Edition, and I would say start with this file. This is probably the first file you should always install, or first mod, and just try to experiment with this process and try to get that mod overriding and then working in your Skyrim Special Edition. So hopefully that's a good start. I'm going to follow up with plugins, I think, after this. So thank you for watching.